Me, Sharifa Tharpe. I'm here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions, and I'm going to be talking about the affidavit of support. So, yes, the dreaded affidavit of support. This document here has the power to delay your application and, yes, even deny your application. So, you got married, check that off. You have your marriage certificate, check that off. You have all the evidence to show your marriage, you check that off. But have you fully considered whether you meet the requirements of the affidavit of support? Because you'll need to make sure you have that ready. Now, the affidavit of support it's required when you're going through adjustment of status. You need to submit it at the beginning of your process. Um, Now, when you're going through consular processing, that's where you're outside of the United States as the immigrant and you're going to go to the embassy. It's not required along with a petition that your relative will file at first. It's required at the point where the embassy is now ready to process. So the National Visa Center, on behalf of the embassy, is ready to file your application, is ready to process your application. You're going to have to pay a special fee, and then you're going to submit that affidavit of support for them to process. And you better get it right the first time, or if you don't, it can add months and months to your process. So you want to get it right. And the first thing you have to do is to determine whether your family member or you qualify to get approved for the affidavit of support. Now, you in certain cases, you as the immigrant, you can use your assets or your income, but you have to meet specific requirements to do that. It's mainly going to be the petitioner or a co-sponsor that's going to be able to show their income, and they have to be evaluated to see if they can qualify to be approved as your sponsor for the affidavit of support. Now, the first thing you want to do is to check whether your relative or your spouse, the person who will be submitting the affidavit of support, qualifies, whether they make the income. And I am on YouTube now. I'm going to go ahead and let me see if I can share the screen showing the affidavit of support fee schedule. So this is called, and I'm here on YouTube. You're free to join me on YouTube. The channel is Getting the Green Card on YouTube. You can look later on if you want to look at the live video to see what I'm looking at here. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a share screen on this Instagram, so I can't show you the form, but it's called the I-864P form. And I'm showing you this on YouTube. Now, on here, if you notice, when you go to the form, you'll see a chart. So it's called the I-864P form. And I go to the uscis.gov to find the latest form. Right now, it is showing the poverty guidelines of 2023. And this is where you're going to determine whether your relative or your petitioner or the joint sponsor can qualify based on their income. Now, I'm scrolling through to the chart that shows you're going to first choose what state you're in. Are you in the 48 states or the territories? Or there are special states that have different income requirements in Alaska and Hawaii. So if you're in Alaska, you're going to look at Alaska. If you're in Hawaii, you're going to look at Hawaii's. But if you're in the rest of the territories or the 48 states, you're going to look at that main chart. So for example, if you're in Florida, you're going to look at this chart. And the way that it works is they look at your income compared to your household size. Now, you're going to be a part of the household size. Your relative is going to be a part of your household. Dependents, so these are children under 21, not under 18, under 21 are going to be included in your household. And any other dependents, if you're taking care of someone or if you filed, put them on your tax returns as a dependent, they're also going to be included as a household member to make up the household size. So say this is a marriage-based case and it's just you and your spouse, and you don't have any children, no dependents, then it's going to be a household size of two. And on the chart here, you will see for military members, they have a different income requirement. They have a lower threshold to meet. So they have to make 100% of the poverty guidelines, and they have the amount that that person, the military member, has to make is 19,720 per year to be approved for the affidavit of support. Now, when we're dealing with non-military members, and we're going to go, they have a higher threshold and they have to make 125% of the poverty guidelines. So when we look at a household of two, so spouse and you, it's going to be the required income, minimum income is going to be 24,650 to qualify for the affidavit of support. And that number, the chart goes up based on the number, if the household size increases. Now, say you have a child who's under 21, who's also a part, either the petitioner's child, then that's a household of three, and you're going to have to make 31,000 and 75 if you're not a military member. If you're a military member, it's going to be 24,860. And the chart goes up to a household size of eight. So that's how you have to look at that chart. But say you have a household size of nine, then for each additional person that's added to the household size beyond eight, you have to add $6,425 to that yearly required income. So that is where you have to start. You have to start there to determine whether you can qualify for that. If your petitioner, your relative, or the petitioner or the joint sponsor can qualify for this affidavit of support. And if they can't meet the income requirement, then the next thing you have to do is find out if there's a joint sponsor who can then meet that income requirement. So go ahead and check me out on Getting the Green Card on YouTube if you want to see the chart that I was referring to. But you can also just go to uscis.gov and click on go to forms and scroll down to the I-864P form, and that's where you can confirm very quickly whether you'll need a joint sponsor or whether you'll need your petitioner or family member is going to have to make more money or show more income. Now, another thing that you can think about is falling back on assets. If you do have assets, those assets can also be used to make up for any deficient income that you may have. There's a special formula that you have to use to determine whether the assets can make up for the deficiency. But that is, so for example, if you have a home that has equity in the home, you have value in the home, or if you have savings, or if you have retirement funds, these can also count as assets that you can use to show that you can make up for the lack of income, or make up for being below what the required income is. And now, the joint sponsor, they are, when you're looking at the joint sponsor, you have to look at their household size with you as the immigrant to determine whether they can qualify. Thanks so much for the love. I appreciate it. So, with the affidavit of support, it can be tricky, right? One of the areas that you have to look out for, one of the traps that you have to look out for, is you have to look out for the deductions that you take out, because the deductions, it will reduce the income on the tax return. So what that means is when, even though you made $70,000 for the year, say you own a business and so you took out a bunch of deductions, or if you're a contractor, even if you're a contractor, then you took out a bunch of deductions, and if it brings down your income too low, you will not meet the income requirement, because they do look at your adjusted gross income on the tax return, and the adjusted gross income goes down with the deductions. So be careful about those to make sure that you don't, because you could be making enough. Your gross income could definitely show that you meet it, but after you file your taxes, that could go down, and it can be devastating to the affidavit of support, and it could then cause you to have to show either assets or show an increased income in some way, or you have to wait until your income goes up. So that's another trap that you have to think about when you're going for that affidavit of support, especially where you own your own business or you are a contract worker. You have to be careful about those deductions and how it affects your affidavit of support. Now, what if you're a business owner? How can you show that? Because when you work as a W 2 employee, you have your W 2 statement. It's pretty easy to file your tax returns. You have your pay stubs that you get every week or every other week or monthly. And so it's pretty easy to show your income. But what if you are a contract worker, you own your own business, you're self employed, and you may not be making a regular paycheck? How can you still show your income? So it's going to depend on what kind of business you're running. How does it look when you're getting money into your business? How does it look? Do you have a formal name of a business? Are you licensed in your business? How do you get your payments? Do you get them by credit card? Do you get them in a business bank account? Or do you get your payments in your personal bank account? This you have to show. If you can't show a pay stub or a steady way that you're making your money, your income at the end of the year, you're going to have to present whatever evidence you have to show the payments to you. That may be your bank statements for the past year, showing the deposits in your bank account, along with evidence that you are running a business. Those may be showing receipts. Those may be showing that it may be receipts, it may be showing that you're a licensed business owner in your state or your town, that you are a professional. You may have entity documents such as the LLC to show that you are a formal business. You'll have to show additional documentation laying out to the immigration service that you are a contract worker or self-employed, but at the same time, you are making sufficient income, and show the ways that you're getting that income. But it's in that case, that's where we really have to dig deep and figure out where you're getting your income from and how we're going to present that, especially if you don't necessarily have a formal way of doing this, where you don't have a separate business bank account, you don't pay yourself regularly from your business. Then that's where we have to then find those non-alternative ways to show that you're making that income. And then there's always the possibility to fall back on the assets that you have as well. All right. Now, another thing that I want to talk about here is, when is the affidavit of support not necessary? So, in the family based process, it's almost always required. If you are being petitioned by your relative, by your spouse, that affidavit of support is going to be required. The way that they offer you flexibility is by giving you the ability to get a joint sponsor to step in if your spouse or relative can't afford to. Now, another thing to keep in mind is, when you're submitting, even if the petitioner, the sponsor, they don't make sufficient income, they still have to submit an affidavit of support, even though it's going to show that they don't qualify. But they have to first show that, and then your joint sponsor then shows that they can step in to make up for the deficient income. So that's another thing to keep in mind to avoid delays, is that everybody still has to sign off on that affidavit of support. Even if you have a joint sponsor, you still have to show and explain why is it that the petitioner or sponsor cannot meet the income requirements first. Now, which applications don't require the affidavit of support? And those are going to be the humanitarian based applications like VAWA. So, VAWA, you do not need this affidavit of support. And I know that this can be a relief to some people, because what happens is some individuals try to stick it out with a relative or a spouse who's mistreating them, because they think if they go their own process, that they are going to have to somehow show how they can financially support themselves with an affidavit of support. The affidavit of support is waived with a VAWA. Also, going through adjustment of status applications. This is where you already have the T status. So I help clients to get the T status. And then once they get the T status, they're able to do adjustment of status. They do not require an affidavit of support for this type of adjustment of status as well. So, and also asylum, right? So asylum is also one of those. When you do become an asylee, you do not need an affidavit of support when you're going from asylee to permanent residence. So those are benefits, and it does come as a big relief to my clients who they know that they have to apply for themselves. They don't have the ability to show that income. But however, it's not required. All right, so I'm going to answer some questions. So go ahead, put your questions in the comments so that I may answer your questions. I'm on YouTube, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook and Twitch. So put those questions in the comments. I'm here to assist you. So go ahead, and if you want personalized legal advice, you want to know your options going forward, then go ahead and call the office at 561-405-4889. So I'm going to put the number here in the comments. And then you can also just go to the link in the profile. That's the easiest way. The link in the profile is going to lead you to It's going to lead you to a website where you can schedule your own appointments without even calling. You can go to the website. The website will have the phone where you can call. It will have the online chat, and it will have the contact form. So many ways to get in touch, with us, get assistance, get your questions answered, and then schedule the appointment with me to get further legal advice. All right, so questions. I'm going to go ahead and address your questions before I head out. So put those questions in the comments. I'm getting married. Congratulations. How soon can I file for my husband to reach the US? As soon as you're married. As soon as you're married, you can file those papers. Now, when the spouse is outside of the US, you're looking at a year and a half to 2 years. But if your spouse is here in the US, you're looking at about 5 months to a little over a year to complete that process. There's no law that says that you have to wait before you file. Of course, you want to make sure that it's advisable to apply as soon as possible. And that's where you have to be careful. All right, if my spouse is getting food stamps and not working, can she still get married to a US citizen? So I'm not sure. So if your spouse, and I'm thinking your spouse is the immigrant, and I'm thinking you're the citizen, can she still get married? Absolutely, still go through the process. So the public charge does not, they're not going to disqualify you from getting permanent residence just by taking out food stamps. Right now, what they're categorizing as a public charge, an indication of public charge is one, long-term institutionalization, and no, that doesn't include jail. That does not include jail. So if prison was somehow involved, then that does not count as long-term institutionalization. It usually involves like for example, mental health or some form of disability has caused you to be institutionalized. The other is receiving most of your income from cash assistance. Food stamps and Medicaid, you have to make sure that you answer questions correctly. You're not telling them false information to get the public benefits. As long as they can get the true information from you and determine your eligibility, and you get food stamps or you get the Medicaid, is not by itself going to disqualify you from getting your permanent residence or being found to be, it's not going to cause you to be found a public charge, to be a public charge. I have an ITIN number and I want to start business. What's the first thing I should do? Consult a business attorney. They would be able to assist you with starting the business. You should be able to do that with an ITIN, but keep in mind, I am not a business attorney, and so I wouldn't be able to advise you on how to start that business. You should talk to a business attorney about getting how you should start. If I'm married outside the US and marry again here in the US, will that help make the process faster or easier? Not necessarily. No, you should be getting married once, hopefully to the same person. And if you were married previously, you have to make sure, married to another person previously, you need to make sure that that's terminated, that previous marriage is terminated, and then move forward with your current spouse. But say you got married in your country, as long as it's legally recognized in your country, you can qualify, right? It's as long as it's legally recognized in your country, it's going to be recognized here as a legal marriage. So getting married twice is not going to, you just have to make sure you have the documentation to prove that you have a legally recognized marriage in your country, and that should be fine. So it's not going to make your process faster. However, say you got married ceremoniously in your country, but it's not recognized in your country as a formal marriage, then you're going to have to get married. If you're here, you can get married here in the US. All right. So please, I was given a NOR after an interview with no valid reason. I have a lot of evidence to prove we have a bona fide marriage. How can you help get the visa back? Get in touch with me. I can review what's going on in your case and then go ahead and respond to the USCIS. You need to make sure it's urgent at this point because they do give you a limited time to respond. But that's what we'll have to do. So at this point, I wouldn't be able to assist you unless you get in touch and we understand exactly what happened, where's the root, what's the root cause of them issuing this, and then fix it, which I have done for my clients previously. So it's doable, but I have to know what the issue is. How long does it take to get your citizenship after applying for it? So I'm seeing 2 to 6 months for my clients. Now, keep in mind that these are estimates. These are not accurate necessarily. It may not be the same for you. So, these are estimated based on my experience with my clients. So it's not a requirement, these are estimates. How long does a non immigrant have to wait before they can get married in Georgia? So if you're talking about when it's immigration, you don't have to wait to get married, right? There's no rule that says you have to wait. If you're concerned about something, this is where your consultation is going to be very important, where we can talk about what your concerns are. But there's no formal rule that says you can't get married right now. Now, when it comes to state laws regarding getting the marriage license and actually going through with the marriage, you need to call the courthouse in your area and find out what their requirements are. If they have any kind of wait periods before you can be issued the marriage license to get married. All right. So that is going to be it for me today. Thanks so much for your time, everyone. I am really working hard to make sure that we go back on schedule Mondays to Fridays at around noon. And so far, it's looking good for this week. So I will be back at around lunchtime tomorrow to come and talk to you about a particular topic today. Um, and you can come with your questions, and I'll address those questions tomorrow as well. In the meantime, I urge you to get in touch with me, because the way I can really help you through your particular matter or concern or just getting status here is by you calling the office, scheduling your consultation, or scheduling your own consultation by going to the link in the profile, and you'll see all the options that are available to go ahead and do that. Get on my calendar. It is filling up fast, and I want to make sure that I can help you. That you are on my calendar, so I can help you. So get in touch with me. Get on my schedule quickly so we can talk. All right. Thanks so much. I'll be back tomorrow at around lunchtime where we'll talk about a topic and you can come with your questions. Once again, thanks so much for the love, and I will see you tomorrow. All right. Bye bye.